This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Hello, football fans, and welcome to the Onside Kick. My name is Ricky Widmer, and as always, I'm joined by the Mark Weber.
WMEs.
And no, I'm not really joined by Mark. This is Sean's obviously sitting in with me because we kind of have a story that we need to talk about. So instead of doing like a little 5-minute video, Sean's like, why don't we do a podcast? And I'm like, whoa, wait a second. Why don't we try one thing better? Let's do a video podcast.
This could be huge, man. We could change the game,
be huge.
even though people have done this before.
This is the second video podcast that we've done. The first one was our fantasy football. Yeah, you're moving the mic there. You're making a mess here. But we got to be talking about this Rams-Titans trade. And before we get into it, I got to blame one person for why we couldn't talk this on yesterday's Onside Kick.
Kobe Bryant.
Fuck you, Kobe.
Oh, hey,
you're the reason.
He put up 60.
I know. It was a great game.
It was an amazing
I was
experience.
rooting for overtime. But fuck you, man. You're the reason.
Hey, if Jeff Fisher wants to be liked in LA, he goes through
Well,
Kobe
I know.
first.
He's got to do it.
It's like winning over the locker room. You got to win over the whole city. You got to win over
I'm
Kobe.
sorry I gave you the finger, Kobe.
Yeah.
Just think back
You own a Kobe jersey, too.
Just think back. I do, a finals patch jersey. I love it. 24. But we got to get to this trade and how it went down. This is what is virtually going to happen. Rams get the first overall pick, a 4th, and a 6th this year. The Titans get a king's ransom. And no, they didn't get Wayne Gretzky, but they get a 1st, 2 seconds, and a 3rd this year, and then a first-round pick and a conditional 3rd next year. And I don't know about you, Sean. I saw this, and the first thing I thought of was, did the Rams not remember what the Redskins did when they traded them for the second-round pick? Second overall pick?
I woke up in like half of a daze, and I was like, holy shit. But I don't know if it's a king's ransom, to be honest with you, because I look at it, the Titans are getting the 15th pick, which, I mean, it could be, obviously huge, or it could be a guy that they take a chance on and doesn't really develop, and then they're getting depth, because I see this as the Rams are looking at that 2017 first-round pick as they're going to be good this year, that this quarterback that they draft will push them over the edge and put them into the playoffs. So that's going to be, a 20-down pick. So it's not going to be a high-level draft pick they're giving up. They're giving up a mid-first-rounder, late-first-rounder here. So I don't know if it's really a king's ransom, and it's really mostly going to be a king's ransom depending on how that number 1 pick does and how...
Depends on who goes where and everything, but the reason why I say a king's ransom is looking at all the kind of scouts. Everyone's got their own opinion, but the one I follow on Twitter, and I love the guy. If you haven't followed him, you've got to. Gil Brandt of NFL.com, he said that in his kind of mind as a scout watching these prospects, he thinks that the first 15 picks, if you're in those first 15, cool. Mm-hmm. You're going to get a guy where it's like, okay, I can be happy after 15. As soon as we hit 16, boom, there's a talent drop-off.
Yeah, not really. It's more potential instead of, true draft value.
But here's another thing I think of, and it's an interesting point that I believe Mark Weber brought it up when we were group texting this morning after. It was like, holy shit, what just happened? But I kind of agree with Mark when he said that there's a chance now that the Titans could go through day 1 or night 1 of the draft, get to the end and go, hey, let's try to find a tango partner to give these seconds to so we can get back into the first round.
Yeah, and I mean, the Titans are still in the first round.
We'll get back into it, I'm saying.
Oh, okay. So
they take the 15 and
jump
then, okay, let me jump
like
back in. Yeah.
Denver, a later team.
Much like Minnesota when we took Teddy Bridgewater.
Well, see, I think with that 15 pick, they might even be like, all right, well, no one on the board is here that we want, or our guy that we want he might be going lower. And a team like the Jets, who sit in like the 20 range, who are looking for a quarterback and kind of want Paxton Lynch, and he's still on the board, they might get anxious and might move up a little. So the Titans might be getting even more picks here if their guy is a late first rounder and they think they can get him on there and get a team that's fighting for a quarterback.
And this is interesting because to me, with the Titans side of it, this is exactly what you want. You get a ton of picks, and with that 15th pick, we're going to get to the Rams in a second with whether they're going to take Wentz or Goff. But to me, here's the thing I think of with that 15th pick. Most people in mock drafts right now are saying there's 4 offensive tackles. 4 offensive tackles that are going to go in the first round where it's like, cool, we got a tackle. And they can still get one. They didn't have to take Tunsil at 1. Now they can get, like, if Conklin's there, they can get Conklin even from Michigan State. Or let's say all the offensive tackles do go. A guy that has fallen and in mock drafts, he was primed to go to the Rams if they didn't go quarterback, Laquan Treadwell.
Yeah, and that's 2 big bodies there with Dorial Green-Beckham and Laquan Treadwell there. I mean, Treadwell's fantastic, and that would be a perfect pair on that or perfect pair on the outside.
Well, I mean,
for Mariota.
Dorial's got the big body. Treadwell's just fucking take it deep. Man.
Treadwell's got a bigger body than Green. They're very similar players.
I mean, Treadwell, he's a hometown product for us.
Yeah, this might be 2 Megatrons on the same side. These are how big these guys are. So I mean, that might be huge.
And I mean, they could go either way and be okay, cool. No matter who we got, we didn't have to take Tunsil at number 1 because that's the thing about offensive tackles going number 1. Do you really need to take the guy who's the number 1 offensive tackle, or you could take the 3rd best tackle and still get somebody?
Yeah.
And I mean, the Titans were in a great spot because they were the 2nd pick last year. They didn't need to take a quarterback because they've got Marcus Mariota. But, I mean, we've talked enough about the Titans. Let's talk about the Rams, though. If you're Jeff Fisher or you're Kroenke or whoever's making the final push-the-button situation, who do you take, Wentz or Goff?
I would take Jared Goff. I don't really believe that Carson Wentz. Well, listen, you know my thoughts about Carson Wentz here. I think he's going to be a clipboard holder. I think he's going to look like Andy Dalton on the sideline holding the clipboard. I think he's obviously a different player than Andy Dalton, but that's different here. I think Goff is pro ready. I mean, he can step in day 1, and that's what you want from a quarterback. If you're the Rams, you have Todd Gurley, you have pieces and plates outside of who Goff is really going to throw to. But I mean, you have a great defense. You have Todd Gurley, and you don't need too much pressure on Goff. But when you do, he knows a pro system. He can come in and act like a pro from day 1. Where with Wentz, he's got a lot of potential, but is he ready? And can he play up against guys like Patrick Peterson and Richard Sherman? I mean, you got to look at who he's going to be throwing at, and not only to, but at. I mean, you got Sherman and Peterson in Arizona and Seattle, respectively. I mean, those are 2 of the best. Probably the top 2 defensive backs in the league. So I mean, you really got to see who's going to be ready to step in from day 1 and be able to produce. And I think Goff is your best choice there. The
reason why I like Wentz so much is when I watched his film, like before I even watched the film, I saw like the measurements and the stats and go, holy shit, this guy is like as close as you can get body-wise and measurement-wise. And even looking at it was the pre-draft kind of ESPN where they like ranked the mobility and ranked this. His rankings were spot on with Andy Dalton. Spot on with Andy Dalton.
But would you take Andy Dalton number 1 overall?
However, I watched the film, and I believe this guy has the tools. He reminds me a lot of Big Ben. Like, just with the style he plays. He can throw the ball. He can extend the play to make more time for his receivers. Or he can say, fuck it, I'm going up the middle, and I'm just going to run with it. That's the kind of guy that Wentz is. I think when this is all said and done, we've got 2 different sides. You like Goff long-term. I like Wentz long-term. I think when we're looking at it 3-4 years from now, much like Andrew Luck and RG3, except none of these guys are Andrew Luck. I don't want to get that opinion out there.
No way.
I think Wentz is the guy we look at and go, wow, he was truly the better of these 2.
See, but I also look at this Rams team and I'm like, all right, if Wentz comes in, then this team is going to go 7-9, 8-8 again. This team is no better with Nick Foles or Carson Wentz. I think you bring in Goff, and I think you can at least challenge for a wild card spot.
Nope. Either one. Let's be frank right now.
I'm going to be frank.
Either one of these guys comes in, and the Rams don't. The Rams aren't going to make the playoffs, no matter which. Like, none of these quarterbacks are going to say, well, we take Goff, we make the playoffs. We take Wentz, we don't. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be we take a quarterback. We're still not going to make the playoffs because we're still not that good of a team.
I disagree. I've always, the Rams have always been that team like, they can be that sleeper team in the NFC. They have a fantastic defense, and it's really, they're going 8-8, they're going 7-9, and they're really, you've been struggling, and that's really the struggle on the offensive side. But now you bring in Todd Gurley. You have a dynamite of a running back there. As long as he stays healthy, you're going to have a top back in the league. And then you bring in a capable quarterback that's not Nick Foles, and you have, Jared Goff behind center.
Poor Nick Foles. Poor Nick Foles.
He couldn't play outside of that one game where he threw 6 touchdowns.
7. It was 7.
I'm sorry.
Some would say he's equal Manning. He's the same level as Peyton Manning.
Well, you know my thoughts on Peyton Manning, so I'd probably take Nick Foles. Anyways, I would probably take Goff right now because, I think the Rams are looking to make the playoffs. They're looking to make a splash.
Well, every team's looking to make the playoffs.
Well, obviously, but they're looking because this is their first year in LA. They don't want to come in and be like, hey, look at this new bright thing. And
no,
then
you have to
big,
make
shiny turd.
You have to make a splash,
and I think
especially in LA.
I think they think that Jared Goff can make that splash right away, where Wentz, they might have to wait for him to make a splash. I think, Wentz can be a fantastic quarterback, but it's really how long is he going to develop? How long is it going to take him to develop? With Goff, he just needs to tighten more things. He needs to, improve his strength. He needs to improve decision making, but I think he can do that, quicker and be able to produce quicker in the NFL compared to Wentz.
There's one reason why we're having this discussion right now. If Wentz didn't play for the Bison and let's say played for, I don't know, I want to say Illinois, but not really in Illinois, a lower level kind of power conference team, we're not having this discussion. The reason why we are is because Wentz played against lesser competition.
But also, you look at that, I mean, if he goes to a smaller, D1 team, he might go up against a quarterback who people see in a better mind, and he might not win that, position battle there, and he might not win 4 straight FCS titles. I mean, that's
whenever people and I know you're talking from the college side, but whenever people bring up but he went to North Dakota State and it's not a power conference school. Colin Kaepernick, Joe Flacco, Big Ben. I'm trying to think.
Colin Kaepernick was not D1.
No, Colin Kaepernick was Nevada. Do you think Nevada's a powerhouse? No.
But they're D1.
Joe Flacco was Delaware.
That's D2.
And you have
Roethlisberger's
Roethlisberger was Miami of Ohio. I mean, Miami, Ohio is still in the MAC, but it's still not that kind of
Antonio
Goff went
Brown
to Cal.
Yeah, but Antonio Brown went to the MAC. I mean, the great players have come from lower teams. I'm not saying that. I mean, London Fletcher came out of D2. I'm not saying that just because he's playing against lesser competition makes him a worse player. It's just what would he have done in a system like that in the D1 side
We're never gonna know.
So I don't know, but I can look at Goff and say he played against the Pac-12, one of the best conferences in the NCAA. So I think that Goff has proven that he can play in big games, he can play against big opponents, and he is pro-ready enough where he can help the Rams move further in the right direction instead of them taking Laquan Treadwell at 15 but not having a quarterback and really holding back this potential the team has.
And the one thing I want to say is I know that I've seen articles all day today about, the Rams are thinking about Goff and they're thinking about this. Let's be honest. They just got the pick. They don't know who the fuck they're going to take right now.
That's not true because they've worked out both guys.
The way I see it is right now the true evaluation begins. All the time up until this was, do we make the trade? Do we do it? We know we want one of these guys, but do we do it? Now it's kind of now that they have the pick, now it's okay, it's go time. Which one of these two are we gonna pick?
See, I think they're an NFL team that's more competent than just you have the NFL.
Well, this is.
I think they've been discussing this and going over.
What do you think this is? Draft day? I think this is draft day.
I think they've been going.
We traded our pick and now we got it back. Whoa! This is how things work.
Anyways, I think that you took me off throwing in draft day there.
You hate it.
Movie.
He hates
anyways,
it. He hates it.
You look at LA, and I think you California kid, you got Goff, and you're trying to make a splash. You're trying to get people interested in LA football because obviously it didn't work before. So you need to make a splash. You need to make a jump, and I think you're going to take Goff, and I think they're going to take Goff, and I think that Goff will give them the best opportunity going forward. I mean, Carson Wentz might develop, but how long are you going to wait? And, Gurley's going to get older. And we know the 30 age for, NFL running backs is the cutoff. So, I mean, you got to get Gurley going. You got to get Gurley help right away. And I think Goff gives you that help right away. And then obviously you can do more things in trade-wise, or you can do more things free agent-wise if there's free agents you want to make a splash with. I mean, you're not going to have that many draft picks to get a guy and plug into your system here and make a splash in their first year. So you really need Goff to pan out, and you can't really just pick Wentz and then wait. You got to get Goff, or you got to get Wentz, and they have to produce immediately. If you think that Wentz can produce immediately, then take him. But I personally do not see that Wentz can come into an NFL system and produce immediately.
Well, it's like and I tried to find the exact tweet just now, but I couldn't, so I'm going to butcher it a little bit. But it was like a tweet I saw from Mike Mayock earlier today, and he said it with Wentz, but it kind of goes in the same way as Goff. You make this trade if you're the Rams. If you think, and let's just say Goff, because that's who you think they're going to pick. You make this trade if you think Goff is going to be just as good as Andrew Luck. That's why you make this trade. Because for you think this guy is going to be as good for us as Luck is for them. Now, is he going to be Andrew Luck? No. Neither of these quarterbacks will. As
long as you're not the worst quarterback in the NFC West, I think you're in good territory there. Because I mean, Kaepernick, he didn't play last year, but as long as you're better than Blaine Gabbert, you're good. And Carson Palmer's consistently hurt. If you can, kind of challenge that Wilson Palmer range, you're obviously in good standing there. As long as you can come in and do what the team asks you to do, then I think this will be a successful pick for the Los Angeles Rams, and I think that Goff will give them the most success immediately.
We got to touch one more thing, because this trade didn't just affect the Rams and the Titans. It affects the entire NFL. I'm going to be honest. I started to put together a mock draft just because of this trade. You've got to. And the one thing I'm noticing 9 picks in is like, you get to 6. Well, holy shit, this trade is still affecting who I take.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm at 9. Holy shit, this trade is still affecting who I take. Because we didn't think the quarterbacks were going to go 1-2, now it's like Tunsil can fall to 3, Buckner can fall, Bosa can fall. Not because they're going to be bad or anything, just because quarterbacks went 1-2. The one that I want to ask you, though, about is that number 2 pick. Do the Browns go quarterback at number 2? Do they go quarterback, or do they say, you know what, I don't like, let's say whatever quarterback it is, they don't like him. Do they say, fuck it, we're just going to maybe take like a Bosa?
Well, we've been hearing consistently that they want Wentz. So I think if the Los Angeles Rams jump up, take Goff.
Which is funny, because today there's an article that the Browns are like, oh, well, we really like Goff. Really, right now,
they could be baiting him into picking Goff so you can take Wentz.
It's either that, or it's, you know what, we're going to say we like whoever we think is going to fall to us. So we look good in the media.
Yeah. I'm just looking at it as, if they get Wentz, or I mean, if the Los Angeles Rams take Wentz or take Goff and Wentz falls to the Browns, then they'll take the quarterback. I don't really think they have too much interest in Goff. But
you don't think they'll take Goff if he's there?
Yeah, what we were hearing prior to this was that he would fall to 7, that he would fall, later than that to maybe the 49ers.
Well, the Niners were the team, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even the Eagles, I think, had interest. So I'm thinking that if the Browns get that pick and Wentz is off the board, then they will go defensive side. I don't think they'll take Tunsil. I think they'll go Ramsey or Bosa or Buckner. I think they'll go and try to bolster that defense and maybe just wait another year, because Cleveland fans aren't really expecting too much this year. So I think you can come in and just get a guy for the future and really groom him.
You got to take quarterback no matter who you get. And the reason why I say that is I'm on the same side as Mark Weber here of Most Valuable Podcast. I mean, things can change. I hope I'm proven wrong, but how many games is RG3 going to play this year?
Yeah. I mean, you look
how many games until you're saying, throw the backup in there?
I'm just saying, you look at that and you also think, well, now, the Eagles were even in talk with the Titans that they might go up and get the number 1 pick. If they see that Goff is going to go to LA, they might, scramble and be like, all right, Cleveland, are you going to take Wentz? Because we'll jump up and take him so no one else trades and gets up to him. I think that, it might be a possibility that even Cleveland might move down because, like you said, it has an effect on these teams that, if the Browns really like someone further down the line, they like, Miles Jack, and they think they can get him where the Eagles stand at 8, then maybe they make that jump down, and maybe we see another trade, and we might see more, the ball rolling here. So I think we might not see the last of trades here. Obviously, I think if it comes out, I think the Eagles are probably going to have to wait till the actual day of the draft to make that trade because you got to see what the Rams are doing. And maybe the Rams might, because usually you see like the first round, the first number 1 pick is told before, so you know who's going to be who's going to go number 1. They might hold that off, so the Eagles might have to scramble and might panic and make that jump up to 2.
Or
so then we might actually see the King's ransom there for Cleveland because the Eagles might overpay.
Let me throw this out then. What? I mean, you're talking about the Eagles trading up. If, let's say, the Rams go with Wentz, because you say that the Browns really don't want Goff, you think that if Goff is there at 2, the Browns are basically going to make it who wants him?
I could
what are
see
you going
that
to give me for him?
I can really see that playing out, especially if it's a team.
Which is weird because that's not a Brownsy thing to do. Browns, the thing that the Browns do well is they draft quarterback. Well, they do it a lot, but they don't do it well.
Yeah, I mean
that's why they're doing it a lot.
Their most recent top pick that's paid off is Joe Thomas. So I mean, it's been a long time since they've taken a really impact player at those number 1 spots. I just think that if they are not confident in the guy who falls to them after LA takes quarterback, then they might make that trade down and might go to Philadelphia who wants a quarterback. They might go to San Francisco who wants a quarterback, or maybe someone else who wants to trade back up and try to get a quarterback. I think that it is possible. I don't think it will happen, but I think it is possible, and maybe you want to look out for that on draft day that it might happen because the Eagles were really pushing for getting that number 1 pick. They might see Goff goes off the board, Wentz is still there, they make that jump.
And the last thing I kind of want to mention is I saw an article today by, I want to say it was Clayton on ESPN, that wrote just winners and losers. Some of the winners, like, the Titans win because of all the picks they got. Goff wins because he moves up in the draft stock. But it's interesting because I agreed 110% with one of the losers of this trade. And I'm going to ask you for your loser in a second if you don't agree with me. The Niners and Colin Kaepernick. They are the losers in this. And the reason why I say that right now is if, let's say, Wentz, Goff go 1-2, the Niners aren't going to be able to draft. They're not going to reach for Paxton Lynch at 7.
No.
But I say Colin Kaepernick is also the loser in this because if quarterback goes 1, goes 2, and the Niners don't get one, Colin Kaepernick is staying with the 49ers, and he can't say, hey, trade me, because the 49ers don't have the resources now to accommodate that. It's like, no, we're just going to keep you and have you play because I'd rather have, like Chip Kelly, he'd rather have Kaepernick, mushmouth today. He'd rather have Kaepernick than draft just fuck it, we don't have one because we can't draft one.
You got Blaine Gabbert who beat my Bears, so I mean maybe they trust Blaine Gabbert enough to get through him this season. I don't think Kaepernick is really truly a loser yet because you saw the Broncos move Ryan Clady, and that gives them enough wiggle room if they truly want Kaepernick to pull a trigger on that trade for Kaepernick.
Well,
so it's always possible there that might happen.
The thing with the Broncos that I'm waiting for is if I'm John Elway, I'm sitting back going, I'm going to wait to see what the Rams do with Nick Foles. Elway can sit back and say because I would take Nick Foles over Colin Kaepernick just because of the money. Just because of the money.
No.
Colin Kaepernick has already said to the Broncos that, hey, I'm not taking less money, which
with it makes sense. Why would he get rid of that?
Marcus said it on the onside kick like you did. It makes sense. Yeah. And Mark's like, I agree with him because you know what? You earned that money playing as well as you did. However, John Elway's going to take the cheapest guy. So if a guy getting released by the Rams who can come in cheaper, I think that's what the Broncos are going to do. Is it right or wrong? Probably not the best decision, but it's the cheaper decision.
The Broncos still think they can contend, though. And
Mark Sanchez.
Nick Foles I don't know about that. Nick Foles versus Colin Kaepernick isn't even a discussion, isn't a debate. Don't make it one in the next onside kick here.
No.
I'm just saying if I don't really care about the money. You're
It's
moving.
all about the
you're,
money.
You're moving Clady here. You make up enough cap room there. I think it's pretty obvious that, the Broncos are willing to do the Kaepernick deal if the 49ers want to pull the trigger. I think we will probably see that, in the draft days, maybe day 1, day 2. But I don't think that's going to happen in the next 2 weeks. So I'm really thinking that Kaepernick will get moved to the Broncos. I think he will start the season as the Broncos quarterback. I see the 49ers as a loser. I don't see Kaepernick as a loser, but I do see the Browns definitely as a loser because now you are in that area where you can't get the guy you want. You're not going to see the Titans go with Tunsil because they're not there at number 1 anymore. Mm-hmm. The Rams can have their choice. They can have who they want. So I think the Browns are the big loser here. Just in the trade wise, like no one expecting like who won Titans Rams. I think it's pretty clear that the Titans won because they don't need that number 1 pick. They're getting depth. They're getting guys that they can bring in, put into their system, and a multitude of guys. Because you could really look, and there's been multiple people who said it. It's not really about the quality of guys you draft. It's the quantity of guys you draft because you never knew who's going to make a bump. I mean, I hate to bring him up here, but you never look at the 199th pick in the 2000 draft and be like, this guy's going to be our franchise quarterback and the greatest quarterback of all time.
You just brought up Tom Brady.
I just brought up Tom Brady.
I was waiting for it.
You made me talk football.
That's
what's going to happen.
How was Sean going to sneak the GOAT into this one?
Damn
but
right.
You guys know my opinion. I said it earlier where 3-4 years down the line, I think we're looking back at this trade and we're saying kind of a similar narrative to what we are. Well, depends on who the Rams draft.
Are you trying to say luck versus RG3?
Kind of. And here's what I'm going to say. If the Rams take Wentz, we're looking at this trade as a good, like, it was worth the risk for the Rams. It's because I'm higher on Wentz. If they take Goff, I feel like we're looking at this trade much like we did with the RG3 Andrew Luck year, except not as bad because I don't think Goff is going to tear his ACL doing the stanky leg.
See, that was the thing there. I mean, I like this trade because I think the Rams are going to get whoever they want, and it's really whoever you make the pick on, and however the other guy does, then that's really a basis of did you fuck up this trade or not.
At least they don't have to settle for Paxton Lynch, who now could go to the Broncos, could fall the second round. What's going to happen with him?
I like Paxton Lynch. So
yeah, I do too.
I mean, you can't really bring up Paxton here. I like Paxton Lynch, but the thing is, like, if the Rams pick the better of the two quarterbacks there, then there's not really a debate. You really didn't lose the trade because
they got a hit. They got hit on this though.
This is a bold move. This is a hit or miss move.
This is a pressure cooker move.
But it's not the worst move. It's not a stupid move. It makes sense. You're moving to LA. You want to make a splash, and this is how you make a splash. So I mean, credits to St. Louis or. Credit to Los Angeles for making this trade. I'm not used to it yet.
St. Louis fans are going to get mad at you for that.
I feel bad for them. So I mean, they could be mad at me. Be mad at Stan Kroenke.
It doesn't matter. You can be mad at us all you want because the Blues beat the Blackhawks in Game 1.
But anyways, I just think that as long as injuries don't play a factor and they pick the right guy, then it's a smart move. Because I mean, if you hit or miss, then oh well. You're not going to make the playoffs. You haven't been making the playoffs in a while anyways. So at least you're trying to do something to further your team instead of just waiting for something to happen. You're making a move to, make a bust or make a move to get going, get the ball rolling. So, I mean, credit to the Rams for not being hesitant and taking a gamble here.
You got to wait and see how the picks play out, but really the one team that I'm like, yes, you did everything. Like, you got enough. It's the Titans. They are the complete winners right out the bat just because of what they got.
And I don't even think it's really, the only way that pick can go bad is if they pick a complete stinker and Larry Tunsil becomes like a perennial Pro Bowl.
Or they have a draft like the Bears and Packers had. And I'm gonna use the Packers. Like the Packers had in 2011 when I believe the only person on their team right now from that draft, from the whole draft, is Randall Cobb. He's the only one.
He was a third rounder, too.
Yeah. Devon House, no longer there. He's one of them. He's with Jacksonville now.
And Raji was one of them, too, right?
No, I don't think so. Not
Maybe he was earlier, but whatever.
But that's going to do it for the Onside Kick, this special Onside Kick. If you're listening on SoundCloud, you're just hearing our beautiful voices as always.
for
And
that
it's
first-
it's a normal podcast, so go ahead, hit that heart button, that repost button. Go ahead, follow us on SoundCloud. If you're watching us on YouTube, you're actually seeing my face talk to you for once. At the end of an onside kick as Sean strangles me, but this is
That's
something
going to be really confusing for people on
who
SoundCloud.
can't see it. So you got to go watch the video for it. But yeah, it's something we tried to do a little bit differently because it was like a mini special thing. And I went, what the fuck? Let's try doing a video podcast for the YouTube. This is where I tell you the spiel. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter at Schwarbo, at Ricky Widmer, at Most Valuable Pod. We're on Snapchat now. That's cool.
I should probably do this.
You should probably do
so
that. You can
people would know when.
Snapchat. You can Snapchat my ending to this, as we are now on Snapchat at Most Valuable Pod.
Can know when videos come out.
Go ahead,
Follow
hit
us.
that like button and that subscribe button. And as always, have a good day, everybody.
Thank you for listening to this MVP podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Most Valuable Pod for more great podcasts.